window washing guy, all good. People know it's not AI.
And if it is, that's really clever. Window AI calling now.
Awesome.
Should we let him know he's on tape?
We should. He's gonna be famous.
We're gonna go, hey, there's camera back there.
Right. All right. Grey Rock Realty Podcast. Catherine Barnett back in the studio with LoanFit.
Hello.
Cat is a mortgage loan originator, and she's awesome and has a ton of knowledge about a ton of programs. And we were working together on a deal the other day, and my clients wanted to make an offer on a house, and they had not sold their current house yet, and they were struggling to qualify or could not qualify to get a mortgage on the new house until they had released the mortgage on their current house. Yeah. And that is a very common situation. And we kind of look at a lot of different options. And in the past, one of those has been a bridge loan, which costs, a couple points. It can cost 2 to 4 percentage points, and it can be a very high interest rate. But what it allows you to do is make a non-contingent offer. And when we say contingent, we mean if we're going to the seller of your new house and we're saying you need to accept this offer and give us a contingency so that we've got usually 2 or 3 months to sell our home. And if our home doesn't sell, then we can basically get out of the contract for free. And usually there's not earnest money at risk. So sellers hate to accept contingencies. When people are selling their home, they're usually going to buy another home. They want certainty. Everybody wants certainty in a transaction.
Sure.
So it's very hard to get, even now that the market is slower, it's very hard to get a seller to accept a contingent offer. We just had a deal the other day where we got an offer on one of our listings. They were paying us $10,000 over list price, which in the current market, we were like, wow, that's awesome. But they had to sell another house, and we said, hey, can we go look at your house? Because we want to make sure, of course, the realtor's like, oh, it's going to sell really quick. And I'm like, can I just walk through really quick? So I went down, I walked through. He said, oh, we're going to be somewhere between 8 and 850. I said, well, which one is it? We'd like to know. I know you guys are still working through that, but that's a big part of the piece. Where are you going to list? And, of course, it ended up being about 850, and we thought it was, they had paid $775 in 23.
Oh,
so I'm going to, this house really appreciates $75,000, which is about 10%. The market is basically unchanged since 23.
mm-hmm.
So everything wasn't adding up. They said, well, we did new flooring and we put in a kitchen, and I was worried.
Yeah.
I knew our listing was going to sell in, a couple weeks. So even though we had another $10,000, we probably weren't going to get with another offer. We did not take that offer. So it's really hard to get a house under contract if you already have to sell. That's where Cat comes in. And with these other clients, she just kind of swooped in and said, hey, I got this program, and that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. So it's a buy before you sell program. What's interesting is that in a buyer's market, people still don't want to do a contingency. And in a seller's market, they absolutely don't want to do a contingency. So either way you slice it, they don't want to do a contingency.
Yeah.
So, and every move up buyer has to face of what do I do with the house? And it's not just the contingency side on the seller point, but when that seller becomes a buyer, then they're like, oh gosh, I have to sell my house in a certain amount of time. I possibly may be homeless because I may not find the right house in that amount of time. And then I've got to move twice. And nobody wants any of that. Like I feel like the hardest thing to do in real estate is to be a seller and a buyer. It is the hardest thing to time that out. And sometimes you can get it to work, but I think it's stressful all in all. And so the buy before you sell program, a lot of these were very, very expensive. You've got the open door one where they buy the full property at a discounted kind of cash rate. And you have no more say in that particular listing. That listing's out of your name and you're gone. You don't have to deal with the departing residents, but you're not going to make the amount of money. And that's why open doors kind of getting caught with their pants down for a lot of their overbidding. So that's one avenue. The other one is that you can, like you said, do a bridge loan. The problem with most of your bridge loans is that to qualify for the new home, you're still counting the bridge loan. You're still counting the current departing residents. And so most people don't qualify for all three of those mortgages. And so that's a huge obstacle. What this particular program does, I feel it's definitely is justifiable. Like when you think about the cost is 1% at a minimum of $5,000. So 1% of the purchase or sales price at a minimum of $5,000, which I feel is very reasonable compared to the 4% that we're seeing from other companies. I think Orchard charges like 4%.
Okay.
So what it allows us, so where this program developed from is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, only a conventional loan, allow for this loophole. And in this loophole has one of the statements that state, if you have a cash offer, we no longer have to count, as a lender, we no longer have to count the departing residence and its debt against you. Okay. So
it doesn't have to be closed. It can just be.
It doesn't even have to be listed.
Right.
Your folks haven't even listed their home. Right. So it doesn't even have to be listed yet. It has to be listed within 20 days. So on the 21st day, it has to be listed.
Okay.
But now they've got 20 days to move out, clean up their property, make whatever repairs they need. And mind you, it's 21 days from the time that they close on their new home.
Right.
So it gives them a chance to move at their own timeline. Right. And so for 1% at a minimum of $5,000, this company and program is going to offer a cash offer on this home that's not even listed yet on your departing residence. And then immediately as a lender, we don't have to count it against them. Okay.
And they will actually close on the property, correct?
Well,
let's say it doesn't sell.
Wait.
So let's say they put it on the market. You know, they're 3 months down the road. Maybe they overprice it a little bit and it doesn't sell. Is this company actually going to purchase the property?
Yep, they have to follow through. So here, a lot of the pushback that I get, especially from agents, right, where they're like, wait, that was going to be my listing. It's still your listing. So we want to know roughly what you're going to sell it for. They're going to do their own homework to go, okay, this is what we're going to sell for, almost like you did on your offer.
Yeah.
They're going to walk through it. They're going to do a full inspection, making sure that, hey, what you feel you can sell it for, the house is worth that. It's, it's not a trash. Right. So they're going to do their own homework, because if the home does not sell after 120 days, they have to pay off the existing mortgages. Now, with that, they're still going to work with the listing agent to get that home sold. But I would tell you they're going to get more aggressive. Of being like, hey, we haven't had many showings. This home is not worth what it's being sold for. Be prepared that we need to drop the price. So they already have that agreement with the seller and with the listing agent to go, after 121 days, we're going to get more aggressive with the price. With that being said, whatever it sells for, the seller still gets the same profits that they would normally get minus the 1% / $5,000. Yeah.
So if they haven't sold it, how do you know exactly what price the company that's making the cash offer is going to pay?
Well, they're only paying off the loans.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. So they're not going to buy the house outright. They're just paying off the loans because they're still going to work with the seller and the listing agent to get that done.
Right.
Yep.
So they're feeling a lot more protected than somebody like an Open Door that's paying, close to a market value, maybe a little bit under.
Right. Their risk of overpaying for a home isn't really there, because they do require that you have 30% equity. And that's what they're going to verify. So that in this market, we're not in the market where you're dumping dropping your price 30% over what you originally started from. Right. So they know that they're fairly protected in that. And they're going to double check to make sure of that.
And in almost every case, you're going to be able to get the house sold, in 120 days, you would think. Yeah.
Especially here in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
If it's priced right, staged right, listed right, it's going to sell quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that for 1% of the sale price, you get a cash offer. That mortgage is completely erased from your debt to income ratio, so you can qualify for the new house.
Not a problem.
You can do a low down payment on the new house if you don't have a lot of cash on hand.
Yeah, just like what we did with your folks. We're doing a low down payment. They already had a home equity line of credit. Now, this particular program will also do like a bridge loan, but then the cost of that goes 2.4%.
2.4. Okay.
But then they'll give you money for your down payment, pay off debt, whatever you need it for. But then that price goes up to 2.4%.
Okay.
So I try to avoid that. I'd prefer doing like a home equity line of credit so that it's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. So these folks already had a home equity line of credit going. So they're going to put minimum down. I think they're putting 5% down.
Okay.
They're going to use the rest of the funds to just get the house ready, handle the 2 mortgages, because mind you, for the 120 days, they've got to pay for both of these mortgages, and they don't qualify to pay for both of these mortgages. So it's
Right.
good to know that they've got some money in reserves
Sure.
to be able to pay for both of the mortgages. And then once that house sells, they're going to take their $150,000 to $200,000 worth of proceeds. They're going to dump it into their new mortgage, and we make sure that they're with an investor that allows for a recasting.
Okay.
So recasting, if you were to throw $150,000 to $200,000 to a mortgage and don't recast it, the only thing it does is shorten the term you have to pay on the loan. It doesn't shorten your actually mortgage payment, doesn't
Right.
make your payment smaller.
Okay.
A recasting is basically treating your mortgage as if you originally put it down.
Okay.
Right. So now they're going to throw the 150 to 200,000 that they make on the sale of the home. They're going to put it down for $150. They're going to recast their mortgage, not a refinance, but recast it. And now they have a mortgage that they can live with, that they ultimately needed to live with. Right.
Right.
They don't want to pay this payment either. They've got all of this equity. And so now this is a comfortable payment.
So $150 and your payment drops the next month.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
You just got to make your first payment.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something that I was particularly surprised by because I had never heard of this program before. And, Kat said, hey, this is what I think we should do. And I was like, I don't know about this. So not a lot of people do. And yeah, it was super cool that you had that.
I think it takes a lot for people to wrap their heads around it. I was talking to another realtor, and the realtor goes, what if we were going to pay cash? And I was like, well, this is because we have a loan over here. And he's like, oh, that was a stupid question, but it's like, just trying to wrap your head around it, to where there's a lot of moving parts. And I had to go, okay, we'll talk about it again. I'm going to send it to you in paper, and then let's talk about it one more time, because it's just, and buyers are the same way, sellers are the same way. They're like, wait, how does this work? And I was like, this is just a program. It's a loophole. I hope they don't close the loophole, but always subjected to them catching on to our creative ways. And I love me some loopholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is only for conventional.
Only for conventional, because your government loans, FHA, VA, USDA, they do not have that language and loophole.
Okay.
Yep.
Do they send an appraiser, or do they send out anybody to look at the property?
They do. They hire, you have your choice of hiring your own inspector or hiring theirs. We go with theirs, right?
Okay.
They know the checklist that they want and how they want that inspection to be done, and it's done fast. And so we hire theirs, and that also doesn't have to be paid until your house sells.
Okay.
So they'll charge the $5,000 plus the inspection, or 1% plus the inspection. But if you hire your own inspector, you're going to pay for that inspector. And then if that inspector doesn't provide everything that they want, then they've got to go back out. So I just default hire their inspector.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a great program.
Yeah.
Really frees people up to just have so much more control over the buying and the selling process and doing it simultaneously. And yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons that you need to put a property under contract with a non-contingent offer.
Especially in Fort Collins.
Especially in Fort Collins. Yeah, it's really, there's a lot of times when we just tell people, like, we call it burning the ship, right? If this program is not available to them and they're trying to buy their next house, I mean, they can't qualify. They have to sell that house and close on it, and they don't necessarily know where they're going to land. So we're starting to talk about temporary living situations and
moving twice,
lease back, and moving twice, and putting stuff in storage. And
and you still don't know if you're going to find your ideal property. I think your move up buyers are they're pickier, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking for everything their current property isn't.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's a needle in a haystack. And so if you're still trying to sell your current property that is more of your, maybe a first-time home buyer, and they're not as picky, and you're trying to sell that property, that's going to go a lot faster than them trying to find the needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
And so I see it all the time, and I see people settle. They settle and go, well, we didn't really want this, we didn't want that, but our house is under contract, so we have to move next week, and so, yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I tell people all the time, this is kind of a small town, and a lot of people come from out of town, and for one weekend, they're like, I didn't see anything I liked. I'm like, you got to look for, 3 months in order to see some great product come across your desk. And if you're just looking for a couple days, it's not you're not going to see a lot of great stuff. So
Yeah. We have a lady in Alaska who, the timing right now, it does not make sense to list in Alaska.
yeah,
It's rainy, it's cold, and it's got a lot of snow depending on where she's in Juneau. And so it's more rainy than it is snow. But she's like, this is not the best time. Usually our April, May is the best time. She goes, however, your best time here in Colorado is going to be the spring. The minute we thaw out, not that we have any snow right now, but the minute things warm up, people, as you get closer to school ending, come out of the woodworks. And so she's like, I don't want to miss the hot market, and I can't qualify for both. And so we're doing that program. We could do the program in any state.
okay,
And so she's going to do the program and be able to be ready. She comes out here in April, and she's going to be ready to roll.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
such a great program. Thanks for finding that and helping our clients out with that. It's been really helpful. And yeah, this will be a short episode. I know you got to
Yeah.
get on the road, but really
Yeah.
appreciate you being here and talking about that with us. And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Anytime. Like I said, I love my loopholes.
awesome. Well, we'll put Kat's contact info in the show notes, and
Okay.
appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.